Good afternoon, and welcome to the Voice of Wisdom. With over 60 years of experience as an investment banker, entrepreneur, investment analyst, economist, and venture capitalist, Morty Davis is Wall Street and capitalism personified. The over 400 companies for which he has raised more than $3 billion over the years have created a countless number of jobs and exciting new products. Through the Voice of Wisdom, Mr. Davis explores, analyzes, and debates the most topical political, economic, and social issues facing our world today. Joining Mr. Davis today for a discussion on the New Hampshire primary and ongoing presidential race is Len Carter. Len is an investment banker, business consultant, and private investor. And now, Mr. Davis and Mr. Carter.
Welcome back, Mr. Carter, and all my precious listeners and cohorts, your cohorts, in making this Voice of Wisdom really sound like we have wisdom. So I very much appreciate all of you. Your comments are brilliant. A few of them get a little rough on me, but even that's useful because I like to know what kind of disagreements I provoke. So I love you all, and with that, I'd like to start the program showing my love by insisting that you get happy and stay happy. I wrote this book, turning out to be a bestseller, Happiness Guaranteed, or your money, misery back, not your money back, or your misery back, how to be happy no matter what. And it's a wonderful book, even if I have to say so myself, because I wrote and quoted other people who have called me and said they never read such a good book, such useful ideas, such inspirational pickups, uplifts every single day, because it's 365 pages of each single day giving you tips on how to be happy and how to avoid being miserable or unhappy. And on that score, I want to insist, because I care about you, just like a father cares about his kid or a mother cares about her kids. She will insist on something that's important for her to see her children practice. And that's the way I feel about you. I'm so fond of you and so appreciate all that you are, that I insist that you, from here on in, develop this habit of saying, don't worry, be happy, don't worry, be happy. Even actors and actresses know that if they play a role that makes them smile and laugh, they feel happier. And if they play a role that calls on them to cry and weep and be very disappointed and what else can I say? Depressed.
Sad.
Well, they become sad by virtue of it. So I think it was William James, it was a Harvard professor, the two brothers, James, a philosophical professor and psychologist and sociologist. And he said, rightfully, you can't control your emotions, but you can control your actions. And reactions bring on the emotions. As I just said, if you start to cry, you'll become depressed. If you start to laugh and smile, you'll become uplifted. And not only you will, but anybody that you get involved with. If people say to me, how are you? I always say, great. They don't want to hear my difficulties, what I'm going through, my troubles, my challenges. And when I say that, I really feel better, because I'm asserting something that I'd like to feel. So even if I'm suicidal, they say, how are you? I say, great. Anyway, I have to insist, not ask you to, but insist that you take this attitude. I'm not going to worry. I'm just going to be happy. And I'll tell you all the different ways you can make yourself happy. But don't let the negative thoughts, like disappointments or failures that you suffered, or even tragedies that we all go through, and if we live any length of time, don't let those dominate your thoughts, dominate the space in your brain. The minute you have that feeling, just shift gears and do something that makes you feel better. Either go see your best friend and shout up things that the two of you had so much fun at, or you're going to have fun at. Watch a good movie, read an exciting book that it really engages you, or mystery, anything that whatever is your favorite food, go down and make it or eat it. There are so many things that can uplift you. For me, what gets me when I'm depressed and at home, the minute I get depressed or start thinking negative things, I run downstairs to my freezer. I get a large chunk of chocolate ice cream, Haagen-Dazs or Breyers. I put on some syrup, chocolate syrup. I have chopped nuts that go on Sundays, and then a bunch of whipped cream and cherry. What do they call those cherries?
Maraschino cherry.
Maraschino cherries. And the minute I start digging into that, it's impossible for me to be sad anymore. So that's just to get over that momentary, and sometimes it eats away at you for all day and all night, and often causes psychosomatic illnesses like ulcers, migraines, ulcerative colitis, arthritis, all come from thoughts from the brain that depression brings about. People deny that. They say, no, that can't be, because I saw a picture of my ulcer and its scars and its bleeding and so forth. I say, yeah, that's the somatic result of a psychological attitude, psychological events, because the minute you're depressed, the minute you're aggravated, your stomach churns out acids, and that acid eats away at your interior and causes scars and causes bleeding. So it's all up to you. Have a positive attitude. It's all attitudinal. So I'm going to check back with you and make sure that you're following this. It's not a request. It's a dictum. Like the Bible gives, God gives dictums. I'm not God, but I'm telling you, follow this path and your life will be much better.
And have your Sunday with the nuts before the show, because when we discuss things that we discuss, it's only going to add to the aggravation.
See, I'm so happy to have Len Carter back again. I invite him.
I'm always as good as a Sunday with nuts with chocolate syrup.
Well, you're great, because you used to have multiple different kind of guests, rabbis, psychologists, stock market experts, all kind of guests, and they're good. They were good. I had a young woman who wrote a book based on conversations with 12 different women. What was the thing again?
Jackie Togroff wrote that book. It was about the 12 super moms fighting the the woke establishment.
Oh, yeah. And then when I have somebody like, who I like a lot, but it gives me the most aggravation, he's always on the other side of what I believe. Who's the guy who took public?
Brett Kingstone.
What?
Brett Kingstone. We'll get him back.
Brett King, yeah, Brett Kingstone. He's great. I had really good guests. You know, when I did my radio program with my wife, the real voice of wisdom, my daughters named the program, Morty Davis, the voice of wisdom, and Rosie Davis, the real voice of wisdom. When I had her on, I wanted to invite on top politicians that were friends of mine. George Pataki, the governor, the mayor was my good friend, and I think he's gone nuts, but he's called the mayor, Mr. Mayor.
America's mayor.
America's mayor. Rudy Giuliani. I had Hillary as a good friend. I gave her some advice on how to get elected. She didn't follow it, but we'll never know if she would have gotten elected if she followed my advice. It was way back when she was running against Obama. What's the Hussein Obama?
Barack Obama.
Barack, but his middle name is.
Yes, as Donald Trump constantly reminds people, it's Barack Hussein Obama.
Yeah. And let's go to we'll discuss this next week, I think, about Michelle Obama possibly running for president if Biden is forced to pull out or something happens to Biden. You think maybe she should replace Kamala Harris, who's a lightweight in my book, and is a negative, but he can't just dispose of Kamala or cut her from his ticket because she's very popular in the black community, in the African American community, as rightfully she should be, because it's the first time that we've had a woman African American in such a high position. But she doesn't come across as inspirational. She's always giggling and smiling and so forth. At least that's my view. And Michelle Obama is right now one of the most popular individuals and name recognition-wise in the whole world. So there's interesting things in the offing, and we'll discuss that next week. Let's talk about the agenda that my producer prepared for today's conversation. We sent it along to you earlier today. You should have it on your WhatsApp or
emails or
emails. What other ones?
Texts, or you do send someone WhatsApp. And
what's that other one? Blender, or the one that can get it, the program afterwards.
It's on Rumble and on YouTube. The big video podcast hosters, but yet we thought the day after the second primary would be a good time to take stock again in what's going on. The first time,
the primary in
New Hampshire yesterday.
Iowa.
First Iowa last week, then New Hampshire. The Donald Trump tsunami continues. The first time a non-incumbent, no non-incumbent has ever won Iowa and New Hampshire and not gotten the nomination.
Really? Anybody that both.
Yeah, a non-incumbent. Trump won 55% to 43%. It's not even, it hasn't happened a lot that a candidate gets more than half, an actual majority. I think Reagan did once in one of those two showings, but generally in a non-incumbent race, you have multiple candidates and they're sort of jockeying, the first few primaries and caucuses, they're sort of jockeying for position. That's why it's rare to have a majority.
And often there's a larger number of...
right. Usually you have,
2016, how many did we have?
In 16, we had 4 or 5.
The Republicans...
Rubio, Cruz, Bush, Jeb.
In the primary?
Yeah, Jeb Bush for first. He made it through a few primaries.
A longer list.
So you had a much longer list in a non-incumbent race. Well, the question here really
possibility of getting 50%
was very slim, but it happened not in that race, but once or twice before. I guess the question is Trump really a non-incumbent? I mean, he technically isn't the incumbent president, but having been president and now running again, in a sense, he's sort of an incumbent.
No, it's not an incumbent because incumbent means
technically
he's currently serving.
But
by his definition, he is the incumbent because he won in 2020.
Right. But never. But if you look at incumbent as someone who has been president, doesn't necessarily
his first term.
So in that regard, this is a race of kind of two incumbents. It's only happened once before, where a president.
The two incumbents being Biden and Trump.
Well, right now, presumably. In the late 1800s, Grover Cleveland was the only president, has been so far the only president to have 2 non-consecutive terms. He was a president, and it's interesting.
Ted Roosevelt didn't have that?
No, only Grover Cleveland. And he won in 1884. So he won the popular vote and the electoral vote in 1884. Then in 1888, he won the popular vote, but lost the electoral vote to Benjamin Harrison. So Benjamin Harrison won the election because he won.
Didn't he die shortly after he won? Or not?
I'm not sure. But then in 1892, the next election,
Cleveland ran again.
Grover Cleveland ran again, and he won both the popular vote and the electoral vote. So he won the popular vote in all 3 elections, 84, 88, and 92. He won the popular vote, but he lost the electoral vote in the 88 year.
The only other guy that has ever done that was Donald Trump. He won it 3 times.
Well,
by his reckoning.
Correct, including the popular vote.
He won everything.
Right. But what's interesting this time and later days is where you have so much more losing the popular vote. I mean, it's very likely that Trump will lose the popular vote in the next election, presuming he's the nominee. Whether he wins or not will depend on how close he wins the swing states, but it's very likely that he will lose the popular vote again, as he did in 16.
As every Republican in
pretty much, right, except for...
25 years or something.
Right.
None of them have ever, even the ones that served as president. The only one that...
I think Bush Sr., Bush Jr. won the second term. I think he won the popular vote in the second term, not the first term.
Did Reagan win the popular vote?
I think so, both times.
That's more.
That was the 80s, yeah, that was the 80s.
Something.
Yeah, no, that's right.
I don't know, the Electoral College is sort of a unique American freaky input, trying to give representation
Right.
to the smaller states with smaller populations. And as a consequence, they became much more powerful relative to their importance. Even Iowa, having the first primary,
Yeah.
it distorts everything because, number one, they're not a typical state as the other 49 states are. They're mostly farmers and mostly white, and they're just not representative of, and that's one of the reasons, because it's first, that's one of the reasons that Trump didn't win Iowa. I think Ted Cruz won Iowa.
Yeah. Although he says he did. Last night at his speech, I think he said he won.
Well, he said he won everything. He also said he's the greatest president other than George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. And then he said he took that back. He says, no, maybe even including George Washington. And his MAGA people, followers, are share that view. Absolutely, the greatest president. The 4 years he was president of the United States, the country never did better. We didn't start any wars, although we did continue the Afghan wars.
Yeah, and the primaries can be distorting because of that. They don't represent.
I think
they don't reflect the voter base in general, but also because the people who vote in the primaries tend to be very fervent. And here's an interesting two numbers. So they polled people in New Hampshire. So half of the Trump voters said they wouldn't vote for Haley.
Wow.
And 80% of the Haley voters say they wouldn't vote for Trump. So it shows you, I mean, they really, and I don't remember the exact statistic, but I think 4 in 10 voters had made up their mind who they were voting for many months ago.
Right.
And of the Trump voters, 90% of the ones in that, of the people who made up their mind not years, but a few months ago, which was 40% of the voters, the Trump voters in that group, almost everyone had made up their mind it was going to be Trump. So he has a very sticky base who are just supportive beyond really any other issue, any other thing coming out.
Yeah, he's developed something like a religious fanatic, like a cult.
But how?
What was that guy who, a preacher or a religious leader who had this amazing following that when he took to an island, he said God instructed him to sleep with all the wives of his followers. And then at that conference that he had, meeting or outing that he had on that island, he asked them to drink the Kool-Aid. And I don't know, was that poison or what? And hundreds of these followers, cult followers, died. It was unbelievable.
Yep.
How and Trump says the same thing. He says I could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue, and there could be 100 witnesses.
But I mean, I could understand someone saying, if someone's a progressive Democrat saying, "I'm not going to vote for Trump," but I mean, for half the Trump voters to say they wouldn't vote for Haley, I mean, how different are their policies, really? I mean, she was in the administration.
Does that mean they'd vote for Biden or they wouldn't vote at all?
One of the two. You don't know. The fact that 80% of Haley voters say they wouldn't vote for Trump is actually good, I think, for Biden, because what that says is that, and you see this in New Hampshire because independents can vote. In the New Hampshire primary, they just have to pick which one they're voting for. But what that says is that
even Democrats can vote
if they switch.
if they switch
Right.
several months ago.
Right. Trump says that they let Democrats vote, but wasn't really true.
But if
They switch to an independent,
yeah.
then they can pick Republican. So I don't know why anyone would not be an independent in New Hampshire. Because you can choose the day of the thing. You just say, I want a blue card or a pink card. That's what they give you.
No, they don't want to go through the...
No, you switch. You just register as independent and stay independent, always.
There's no paperwork or anything?
Well, the first time you register.
I'm saying, so that, not the first time.
Yeah, you register.
You could
So
change.
why change? Just always stay as an independent.
It's not the first time. You could be voting 40 years and decide...
But why did you ever register as a Republican? When you can register as an independent and vote Republican.
In New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's interesting because it shows you that level of blinded following where it's just, but for Hillary, it shows how she has drawn the moderates because 80% of Hillary voters saying they wouldn't vote for Trump, that's a statement from a real non-Trumper. And so that would bode well. And she has been saying all along, and the polls do bear this out, if she ran against Biden, that's an easy victory for her.
Really?
When Trump goes against Biden, it's close. Sometimes it's very close. So that's why one of the things that she said, let's talk about some of the things that she said in her victory speech. The first was that she's now starting to play the electability card more. She still won't really attack Trump, although she did needle him a little bit on when he mixed up her with Nancy Pelosi the other day. Trump said that Nikki Haley was responsible for security at the Capitol on January 6th. So in her speech last night, she said, Donald Trump accused me of being responsible. So he didn't like that too much. But nor did people on Fox News who were always playing the Biden gaffes on their programs every night, and now all of a sudden the shoe's on the other foot. But she's still not attacking Trump, but starting to play a little more of the electability card.
But both she, Haley, and DeSantis said if Trump wins the Republican
They
nomination,
signed the pledge.
they would vote for him.
Yep.
Which is an interesting way of attacking him because
Right.
they give him sort of a stamp of approval that he's the best
Well,
Republican.
it shows how the base has so much power over the how candidates think, because
that's not true, except as you define the base, because much of the base has left the Republican Party, so that there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of former Republicans that Trump and others call, what do they call them? Not in
Rhino, Republican in name only.
Republicans in name only. So it's not Haley. It's one good example is what was her name? Just remember, she was the leader of Trump's campaign in 2016, and her husband is a top Wall Street lawyer.
Conway. She was on Fox News. She's a collaborator on Fox News now.
Is she?
Yeah, she was on last
What's her
night.
name?
Kellyanne Conway.
Kellyanne Conway, and he's Conway too.
George Conway.
George Conway.
Yeah, he's on CNN.
And he's part of a group that, what do they call that group? That's
Lincoln Project.
the Lincoln Project,
Yeah.
right? That's a lot of top Republicans
Yeah.
that have decided that there's no way they would ever vote for Trump. So that's incorporated and carried.
Right, but they tiptoe because, you know, how do you differentiate yourself strongly, clearly from Trump if you're going to say, well, if he's the nominee, I'm going to vote for him. So they both signed the pledge.
But the Lincoln
That's different,
guys
right?
are
DeSantis
actively opposed.
when DeSantis suspended his campaign, first he said he's going to keep going, and then the next day he just suspended his campaign. So that's why we need to talk about Nikki Haley quickly, because tomorrow she may suspend her campaign, even though she says she's not.
Not only that, Trump changed his entire attitude.
Yeah, he was nice after Iowa, now he's really attacking her.
No, he's been saying what a terrible candidate is.
He's an
He's not
imposter.
prepared. He's not. And then when he pulled out, Trump congratulated him and said
Right.
he ran a good
Right.
campaign.
And so he
Whenever somebody loses against him,
Yeah.
it means they ran a good campaign.
So when he suspended his campaign, the first thing he said was, I signed a pledge to vote for the nominee, and I'm supporting Trump. I guess he figures he doesn't want to be hacked too badly by Trump, although it didn't work because Trump
I
says
think that both of them said they're going to support the nominee.
the nominee, yeah. So he's saying that's going to be Trump, and I support him.
That sure looks
Although
like-
then Trump comes out within a few days to say he doesn't want DeSantis in his administration. So people say, "Oh, could Haley be the vice president?" I would say not a chance, because in his eyes she's a traitor, and I don't think you make up with a traitor. And there's plenty of other people who aren't traitors in his eyes who he could make. I don't think he's going to pick Vivek Ramaswamy, and I don't think he's going to pick.
Raman is very active in that.
I know, and so is Tim Scott. I don't think he's going to pick either of those two, because at the end of the day, he's going to pick either a conservative white guy like Pence, or maybe a conservative
He ain't picking Pence.
like Pence,
No.
or a conservative woman. But I don't think he's going to pick
He might pick
a minority.
the woman
even if
from
they are.
New York, who
Yeah, Stefanik.
interviewed the
Yes.
three.
Yes, conservative woman.
Yeah.
She could definitely.
No, because she shows she's strong.
Oh, and has never. I mean, Trump he's very big on loyalty, right? And loyalty means no matter what,
Right.
you are loyal. And so Nikki Haley, I mean, anyone by definition, you run against him, you're disloyal. That's definitional.
Yeah.
So none of those are going to. And I don't think he's going to put him in their administration.
Maybe I'll choose Elizabeth Cheney.
But I think Ramaswamy or Tim Scott could get positions in the administration. You know, like he gave Ben Carson a position, but he's not going to pick him for vice president. But so Haley says,
I think he gave more than one person out of the 18 that participated. I think there's at least one of them. It's not important.
Yeah. I think those people, because they ran against him, but they quickly came around, you know, and Haley isn't dropping out quick enough. And even DeSantis, who dropped out pretty quickly, I don't think, you know, Trump's not going to go.
No, if they show any sign of not being totally,
Right.
like somebody like John Lindsay, he would pick him. Because no matter what, he said negative things at times about Trump, very negative, but he's always come back and been totally.
I mean, Lindsey Graham?
Well,
Who?
Lindsey from South Carolina.
Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham. That's John Lindsey was the mayor of New York.
So maybe pick him too, but he's probably
Right, Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham, the senator from South Carolina, yeah.
And the amazing thing is, Scott, what was his first name?
Tim Scott was appointed by Nikki Haley. Yeah.
Appointed by Haley, and he just came out with Nikki being a candidate. He came out for Trump.
That's why, I mean, I predict, she'll last through South Carolina. It's really not her decision. It will be the donors when they decide not to give money anymore. But in South Carolina, you got the governor, both senators, and most of the representatives all out for Trump. So that's your home state.
Yeah.
How do you, if you can't make a showing in your home state, I think you're not going to make it.
I don't think there's a president that lost his home state.
Right. Even the governor won.
Maybe there was
one state in 72, right? Or two, maybe. George McGovern in 72 against Nixon. I think he won Minnesota. I think that was it. Or wherever he was from.
Oh.
George McGovern won. And even when the Reagan landslide, I think Mondale, wherever Mondale was from, I think they won Walter Mondale's home state. That was it. But Haley says she's starting to play the electability card more now. Whoever, the first party to retire its 80-year-old candidate is going to be the party that wins the election. Interesting comment, and we've seen the polls. Anyone other than Biden could beat Trump, and anyone other than Trump could beat Biden. So
that's what the polls show.
Right. And so it's true. I mean, Haley keeps saying 70% of the country do not want a Trump-Biden rematch.
Not only that, her best line was about Trump, without being nasty, but it is nasty. She says, Trump lost in 2016, he lost the popular vote. In 2018, he lost the Senate and the House.
Yep.
In 2020, he lost the presidential election.
Yep.
He's a loser. We got to pick somebody who wins. I'm a winner. I won. And the other thing she said that was pretty clever. She became, after DeSantis pulled out, after the did he pull out after or before?
Right after Iowa.
After Iowa?
Right.
Even though he came up ahead.
Yeah, right after.
But that left Haley and Trump. And she said, it's just the two of us now. And I congratulate Donald Trump for winning the New Hampshire, winning the New Hampshire primary. So I wish that the best woman wins this election.
Yeah, I mean, those polls, you really do support her. The other thing she said, that Trump's the only Republican in the country who Joe Biden can defeat. That's, because the polls do show that any other candidate that Biden would lose to and against Trump.
And I think it's universally accepted or recognized that the Democrats prefer that their opposition in 2024 will be Donald Trump.
Well, that's why she also said the worst kept secret in politics is how badly the Democrats want to run against Donald Trump. You know, and
they want him so badly.
I think the Republicans know
not badly enough to vote for him,
or to
or to endorse him.
That's why they say. That's why I think the Republicans know that too, and Trump knows it. So, you know, her staying in the race, you know, some say that that's only helping Biden. You think that's the case?
Her staying in the race only helps Biden?
Yeah, or doesn't it matter? I mean, Trump said, I don't care if she stays in or goes out. That's what he said. But before the primary in New Hampshire, he said, I don't care if she stays in or stays out, doesn't matter. Then after she came in, had an okay showing in New Hampshire, and he went ballistic on his acceptance speech, you know, terrorizing her and the governor and everyone else and Sununu. And so he doesn't like the fact that she's still in the race. I think his supporters want her out just so that the focus can be on Trump. But I think also because the longer she stays in, you know, if you're in a presidential race, you have to, by definition of being in the race, you have to say why your opponent shouldn't win. You have to, even if it's just, you know, reiterating the polls or reiterating his age or highlighting that he messed up, confused her with Nancy Pelosi or whatever it is. And he's the only Republican to be doing that. Only one. No other one is doing that.
While she's doing it, they do it so gingerly, so without really attacking. You know, she'll say of all the choices, and that's what she said. I'm going to vote for Trump. So that's hardly
right.
You know,
an attack.
Yeah, you know.
Can you imagine if Trump were running against Trump? What he would say about himself? The guy's got 91 indictments. The guy loses here. The guy was this. The guy, you know,
I saw him on.
He'd have a field day.
I saw him on TV yesterday.
Of what things to say.
No, he said they'll probably indict me 3 more times, and every time they indict me, my vote goes up. I increase my popularity, and that's true. So I don't have to say more than that. He said, I wish the judge would throw me out of court. That would be, you know, for making rash statements or something, because that would show how biased they are. It's unbelievable.
Refuses.
There's only one like that in the history, and I don't think there'll ever be another one. It's really amazing. He's a super salesman. What did they used to call those guys that came around with all the different drugs on their horse and
snake oil salesman.
Right?
Snake oil
salesman. Yeah. They had cures for everything. Because there was no FDA, they didn't need approval. If you wanted a drug that reduce your weight, I got just the thing.
Haley is right when she says there's only 2-3% of the delegates available have been committed. 2%. So
they should all be committed.
Yeah. So most of them, you know, so to call it this, or I mean, you know, for her argument is there's still a lot more to go, and in these, particularly in states which are more representative of
but I don't
the general election. But that's not how it works.
After South Carolina,
things are accelerating.
Governor, and she gets beat.
That's why I think
badly.
that's about as far as she's going to make it.
No, and also that following that state, there's not any state that's really
Super Tuesday.
so enthusiastic. On Super Tuesday,
Well, there's just a lot of states then.
Yeah, but
So
how
I
many
think
of them are?
Well,
I don't know.
according to the polls, not really many,
Yeah.
but that's assuming the Iowa and New Hampshire results project out to the rest of the
There's no
to the electorate, which
there's no
it probably does, or at least enough for him to win.
there's no need for her to win, Nikki Haley to win, absent his withdrawing, his getting disabled, serious illness, whatever,
Right.
or because of his age, or getting Alzheimer's.
Or incarcerated. I mean, if he does get convicted, not just convicted,
because we could,
but if he gets,
we could get incarcerated.
then I think it'll be,
There's nothing in the Constitution.
yeah, there is, because you have to be able to perform the duties of the president. So
So he'll say I could perform them. Why
no,
not?
you can't, because you have the duties of the president include, fine,
President,
or whatever. So you
Can we
can't.
get a little fire?
If he's let's say he's convicted with a suspended sentence, then he could still.
No, but if he's in jail, he says, Putin will come visit me, she will come visit me.
I don't know, that would go to the Supreme Court. I mean,
and he's got the Supreme Court like
no,
that.
not really. I mean, I don't think they didn't go his way in 2020 when he wanted to. They could have, yeah. So I'm not so sure. I think he's surprised at how non-loyal they are.
Especially what's his name?
Kavanaugh. Yeah, so I don't know, but I give her probably through next month, and then I think she's gone. But before she does, let's talk a little bit about some of her policies before she disappears off the map.
That's unique because, as far as I noticed, I haven't seen any of the Republican candidates propose policies
Much different than any other ones.
that address the nation's top needs. They say they do, the economy, but they don't have a program eliminating Obamacare, but they've never proposed an alternative. Trump says he has, like a secret, much better program, but he doesn't define it. So I don't know what policies she's talking about, or Trump is. Did you hear Trump make, other than maybe?
He's got two policies. Trump has two policies.
Cutting the taxes for the rich.
I haven't heard him say he wants to do that more, but maybe he does. The two that he says he keeps reiterating
is putting Biden in jail.
Drill, baby, drill.
Yeah, that's for all.
He says.
Take off federal regulation.
When he says he would be the dictator for a day, the two policies that he keeps. Last night he said that your energy costs are going to drop 50%.
Yeah.
Because we're going to drill, baby, drill. That was exactly his quote. Then the second thing he's going to do is shut the border. So, I mean, he's very savvy to focus on, to pick a couple of issues, like you told Clinton, pick an issue and hammer it.
Yeah.
He's doing that. He's doing it on two.
Yeah.
Immigration and energy costs, because everyone sees that every day. Pictures of buses coming from the border up to different cities and people getting off and in tents in the streets and lining up for whatever. And then they know that every day they go to the gas station or the grocery store and see their I
told Hillary to focus on an issue, because every presidential candidate of either party has the same laundry list, you know? They're going to cut taxes, they're going to balance the budget, they're going to strengthen the military. The same laundry. I said, you got to pick one and keep hammering it home. And my evidence was, or where I got that feeling from, was years ago there was a committee to deal with crime. And there was a guy, I forget his first name, Kefauver. And that's all he did. He worked on that committee, and he didn't win the nomination, but he came close when it was nothing before he served on that committee, because it was impressive. I said, you know, in my view, it should be energy, but whatever you decide is the most important change that you want to introduce. And
I guess Trump overheard you, because that's what he's doing. Very wisely, immigration is probably, that's his, and it's of all the issues to pick, that's a good one to pick, because the exit polls show both parties.
Yeah.
I mean, it's harder to argue economy now than it was a year or two ago, because inflation is way down. Stock market's at all-time highs. It's hard to say that the Biden economy is terrible. All you can say is, nostalgically, remember when I was in office before COVID, how great everything was, and how unemployment was as low, even though it's, I think, as low as it is now as it was then. But, you know, it's hard. You see, the problem with inflation is, even when inflation comes down, it doesn't mean prices come down. It just means that prices go up less fast. So you have a bout of inflation, prices go up, they stop going up, which means inflation goes down, but they're still higher than they were before they started going up. So that's what people pound and pound and pound, because people's grocery bills are higher than they were under Trump. They're just not going up.
Salaries for the bottom half of the bottom, I don't know, bottom half, for the bottom segment of the. How you doing?
I'm leaving.
Have a good trip. Have a good time. I love you. That was my daughter leaving for a winter break vacation. What was it? What was I just addressing? Which?
It's a wheelchair.
For example, some of the headlines in the financial segment of the news, or the business section of the news, and it's been recurrent, the stock market's made new highs. Now that's important, but I don't know that interests or affects a great deal of the people at the lower end of the economy. Like, I don't think it's...
Yeah, but Trump made a big thing about it. He said, I bet, your 401k is doing great, and when the market was down in the early part of Biden's tenure, Trump, was saying how terrible Biden is, and look at your retirement assets. I mean, even people who may not own a lot of stock, if any, in the market, are exposed through their pensions or 401ks. So he's smart to pick that as an issue. Immigration, both parties cite immigration as like a hot
on television every single day.
Right. And
that's I think that's what won the 2016.
Both parties, voters from both parties, cite immigration as a top issue. It's not like an issue that one party thinks is important and another party thinks is not important. Both parties think immigration's important. So, and will admit or acknowledge that things need to be done. What that is might be.
Biden said he made proposals that deals with that issue, and Republicans run back it.
Right. I mean,
because they think if he gets that passed,
right.
That could be his re-election.
That could be. I mean, that's not.
That's not could be.
That's not an unreasonable observation. Right.
Exactly.
Block it.
Don't do anything
to make him look bad, so that
to undermine his campaign.
Yep, and that's a good way to do it.
I didn't see what he proposed, but he said he proposed.
Well, it goes back to
an aggressive.
It goes just to the divisiveness of the country. Instead of trying to think about ways to make people have a better life in our country, we think about ways to defeat the opposition, and this is a perfect example of that. But
Bill Maher said the best thing. Bill Maher said it's a series of things why there can never be a two-state solution, and it goes through a very solid argument. But he says the Palestinians, part of it is they want a one-state solution with the Israelis leaving. He says, where are they going to go? Well, where do you want them to go? So he said, maybe Texas. Maybe they should move Israel to Texas. Because in that deal,
can put the
Israelis would have a great place, a lot of land and everything. And they bring along the wall, what do they call it?
Put the wailing wall at the southern border and kill two birds with one stone.
They bring along the wailing wall.
He said that's never going to work because there's going to be a lot of correction.
He's remarkable. I thought it.
He's a funny guy.
Very short. I'd like to show it on maybe one of these. Can we put it on?
Yeah, we could put it on as a on the channel.
Yeah. I'd like to put it on.
That's a funny bit.
As a matter of fact, I wanted to do a documentary because there's so many good pieces that show how impossible it would be to have a two-state solution given the attitude of the Palestinians, because they've been offered, the people complain that the Palestinians deserve their own state. And it's as if Israel doesn't let them have it. And since 48, and even before that, Israel was proposing different settlements, different adjustments that would have given them most of what they wanted, almost all of what they wanted. And in every case, they didn't even come back with an alternative proposal or some enhanced proposal that would make them go along. Bill Clinton said he thought he had a deal with Arafat and Barack. Barack was the Prime Minister of Israel. He had him over at Camp David. And he said he thought he had it done. He thought that was the major disappointment of his tenure. And the proposal, supposedly, I didn't check it against the facts, but supposedly it's been argued that Clinton and Barack wound up giving the Palestinians 95% of what they wanted. And Arafat worked out without giving any counter proposal of saying, well, you're almost there, but if you do this, and went right back to Israel and the West Bank and started a major intifada.
Well, I think that's a perfect way to end today's show, because we're about out of time, and to have an introduction to next week's show, because that's exactly what I think we'll be talking about next time is the situation in the Middle East and Israel and Hamas specifically. So that's a good segue, and
It's interesting
we'll
that
be sure
the
to
Israeli situation has taken Ukraine before the October 7th event where the Hamas attacked some music festival and killed and raped and cut off the heads of babies and so forth. Ukraine was the daily news.
right now. It's
And
only
now-
if
now you
some
don't-
really big thing like today. Tonight, yesterday.
The money.
Well, yesterday there was a plane crashed. Russia said it contained 65 Ukrainian prisoners of war that they were going to swap with Ukraine,
Oh, really?
and that
And
crashed.
most of the people that
But
were
Ukraine says no. It contained
Russian.
weapons.
Oh,
So I don't know, but there's a video of the plane crashing and blowing up. So now Ukraine's only in the news if it's like a big thing. Otherwise, you don't hear much about it.
no, it's part of the war that the funds they want to provide for both Ukraine and Israel to continue to do well in their adversarial positions vis-a-vis Hamas and Russia. Okay, we'll deal with that next week. Thank you all for joining and being part of this exciting and wisdom-inducing podcast. And as always, I wish you a happy week, a happy every day of your life, and each day of your life should be even better than the day before until eternity. And if you really want to get that attitude and have that happen to you, get a copy of Happiness Guarantee or your Misery Back, because I'm guaranteeing that it'll help you, and I'm so sure that by virtue of the fact that everybody that I know that has gotten the book, bought it or got a gift of the book, has called me and said, not everybody called, but all those I called, I don't know the others that may have different feelings, have praised how much it's done for them, how they read it to their kids each day. So I want to only do what most of these products induce you to buy, try or buy the product with the promise that if you're not happy with it, they'll give you your money back. You didn't want any great advantage by getting your money back. I said if you don't like it honestly, but even if you lie, I have no way of checking. If you say you bought it and you found it useless or worthless, I will give you double your money back. Okay? Just only because I want you to enjoy it, not because I need the sale. I don't keep any of the money. Everything that I earn these days is for charity. I don't need any more money. God bless you all. I love you. Again, have a great week, great every day. Bye.